Welcome back, party people, to Kind of Everything, the podcast where we talk about everything and anything. I'm your host, Naz. Before we get into the topic of discussion for today, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you're keeping hydrated in this lovely, lovely heat wave. I can't lie, can't complain. I absolutely love, adore this weather. I love it. I don't care if my butt cheeks are sweating. I don't care if I'm suffering right now. I love that we have finally hot weather. We never get this. I hear people complain about, oh my God, it's so hot. Oh my God, I need aircon. Honey, we never have this weather. Embrace it. I love it. I absolutely do. I love the outfits I can curate. I love that I can walk everywhere. I love having a cold drink at hand. I'm obsessed with this weather. I don't want it to end. It's all probably because I'm a summer baby, but I'm absolutely in love with the vibes lately. Another thing that I've been kind of enjoying is Olivia Rodrigo's new album. You seem pretty sad for a girl so in love. Excuse me. I feel like listening to this album, initially I was a bit like, I'm not really sure, but it's giving a lot of Paramore vibes. It's giving Pink vibes. It's giving early 2000 and I'm in love. Today, our topic of discussion today will be surrounding men and why men are struggling with social connection. Now, I need to highlight that this doesn't affect all men, probably. Some of you might be dapper and dandy. Some of you are chilling. However, I carried out some research. I've read through some articles. I've asked around for some POVs. And I just want to be as fair as I can when discussing this topic, hence why it's taken me a while to film this. Every time I try to start filming, I do get a little bit of a migraine, only based on the fact that it's such an intense topic and it's so sensitive. I just wanted to tread lightly. Also, another disclaimer before we start talking about this topic, I do ask that some of you show some empathy and kindness when it comes to this topic. I don't want to be biased, but I will be honest. And yeah, I feel like it's going to be a fun topic to discuss. It would be more enjoyable if there was someone to debate with. However, I don't feel comfortable inviting anyone to my house and into my bed just for this podcast. So I'm just going to do it on my POV. I'm going to try being as equal and fair and kind of respectable to the nature of the topic. Most of you might not agree with what I'm going to say. Some of you might also think I'm speaking facts, which is fine. Like I said, I've done my research. This topic is purely surrounding men and why they are struggling so much with forming meaningful connections and why the male loneliness epidemic is a thing, essentially. So, before we begin, I'm going to read on some definitions. Let's start with what male loneliness epidemic really means. According to Alex Masur and Jennifer Littner, the term male loneliness epidemic describes a potential increase in feelings of loneliness and social isolation experienced by men. Loneliness is described as a distressing emotional response to a perceived gap between the social connections and those you actually have. I feel like when I define loneliness, I'm just like, I'm by myself and I'm alone, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to get those definitions out the way because it can be a little bit technical. Everyone has their own subjective definitions of symptoms that we all experience. So what might be loneliness to you might not be loneliness to me. What might be for me might not be for you. So I just wanted to throw those definitions out there. So before we process further and dissect why men are found to be in an epidemic of loneliness, I want to acknowledge that loneliness is a common feeling that everyone experiences. It's entirely normal in this day and age to feel alone and lonely, to feel disconnected to everyone you know, or to feel totally alone in a room, or having a lack of connection with someone you knew for a long time. It's completely normal. This isn't to say that women don't feel lonely. Obviously we do. This is just to dissect the term male loneliness epidemic and where it's coming from, because it's been a topic of discussion for the longest time on my socials. And I just want to understand, deep dive in there and understand what is going on. So we're going to jump into statistics now. In the UK alone, there is up to 8 million men who feel lonely at least once a week. 3 million men who feel lonely every single day. However, 1 in men will not admit to feeling lonely, not even to themselves. Statistics have also shown that there's an increased number of men and boys who have felt like they are a victim of the term male loneliness epidemic. I read a statistic somewhere that people tend to think older men feel more lonely. But a German study by Luhmann and Hartley showed a sample size of 16,000 adults aged 18 to 103. It was found that men under 30 were the loneliest, despite having more friends and more online interactions. What really is going on? It's not just the fact that men don't have friends, maybe. It's a lot of structural and cultural contributions that result in male loneliness epidemic. Some things can be social and emotional expression, struggling to communicate how they feel, expectations of society, trauma, family trauma, upbringing trauma, lack of support. We're going to talk about all of this, okay? Let's talk about our first point before we proceed, is the growth of individualization. Bit of a tongue twister for me. So in previous years, we had traditional structures. It held more value that men were the main kind of breadwinners, decision makers, problem solvers, laborers. They had the community. These were things that were predetermined. You know, you're a young girl, you were told your husband will take care of you. He will provide, he will protect. That is his job. But these traditional structures have weakened. Individuals, men, women, whoever, have now more right for freedom. You can vote now, you can go to work now, equal pay, equal acts. Everyone is making their own life choices. So this might seem like a positive shift to most, to women especially. However, it's slowly causing a collapsing structure. An example of this could be, let's think about the generation that most of our parents have come from. The woman relied heavily on men for liveliness, essentially. Having a home, having a family, just being under the wing of a man. The man was the brain behind the woman back in the day. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's true. In a lot of cultural, traditional, even religious households, that is what it was. So in today's society, women no longer require men to accomplish these things. Women have the freedom to make their own money, to progress in their careers, to have their own jobs, to have their own homes, really and truly, even having kids. Technology is far too advanced for that. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need men. Obviously, as a society, we need all the genders. I'm not saying, but I'm just telling you that this is what it's coming to. You know, there's a lot of changes in society. Women are becoming more independent. Men are raised to be the provider and the protector. And now that women are more independent and don't want the protection or the providing, everything that men have known to be is collapsing. So it's a lot of kind of confusion in a way that if you're told from a young age that this is your main role, and once you're older, and by the time you get to acting on that main role, it's no longer relevant and it's no longer valid. I understand where it kind of puts men in a little bit of a funk of like, what am I supposed to do now? So I get that. So I've come across some articles written by men where they highlight the portion of their loneliness is due to women no longer needing them to form relationships with them or to maintain a relationship that no longer provides them satisfaction. I think it's unfair to put blame on women specifically. Just to dive a little bit deeper into this, some men from the articles and the research that I've done have interpreted women growing independence as a threat, essentially, to the gender hierarchies. Like I said, this is something that they've been trained, raised to do, and it's gone now. And instead of choosing to adapt and grow with these ideas and changes. It feels like reading these articles that the men felt more pressure to assert dominance. If you look online, there's a guy there somewhere telling young boys on being more dominant, on being more manly. It's ridiculous. So the destabilization has led to kind of causing a sense of resentment toward women. Essentially, I know some people are not going to agree with that, but it is true. Let's say Andrew Tate or even Donald Trump or someone more local, Diego Day, is just teaching young boys to be kind of having traits where you need to be the man and you shan't be feminine and you should assert dominance and you should act nonchalant so the women could be more interested with men who have no emotions. And that is not the case. I know I have some friends who argue that if I cry in front of a woman, she will get the ick. She'll be turned off. I'm sorry to say, if you cry in front of a woman and she gets the ick, that woman is not for you. You need to run, in fact. If I'm crying in front of a man and he gets the ick, I would not think, oh my God, I shan't show emotion. I would think, oh my God, this guy is a total loser, doesn't deserve me, can get lost. So there's a little bit of a different in thought process there. So men are raised, or men online have ideologies that you need to be emotionless, you need to be dominant, you need to be kind of stoic for XYZ to happen, to be more successful, to be taken seriously, to attract women. But this has caused a concept that reflects very restrictive forms of traditional masculinity. So whether these people are promoting it consciously or unconsciously, whether it's your dad telling you not to cry, whether it's some man online with a podcast telling you you shan't do this to get women, it's kind of promoting qualities like empathy and caring and kindness are classified as feminine traits to have, whereas things like being emotionless and stoic and unemotional and angry and I don't know, like are male traits to have. It sounds ridiculous, but it is what I've kind of been scrolling and reading online, whether it's through TikTok or Instagram Reels or podcasts or articles and research. It's kind of ridiculous, but these are things that men are creating amongst themselves. I know there will be a random occasion of a woman having an ick for a man being kind of, I don't know, submissive or emotional. But like I said, if you're in that situation where a woman gets an ick because you're showing emotion, that woman is not for you. I don't know how else to say that. If I'm with a guy and he's not showing any emotion, I'm sorry, I'm going to run. Are you a psychopath? Where is the emotion? So if a woman is telling you to lessen the emotion, you got to be concerned, I think, personally. So due to this, men are less likely to seek professional help. Women are more likely to go to therapy. Men are less likely to open up about how they feel, unfortunately, because of these situations, because they feel like they failed as a man or that they are weak. So this kind of segues a little bit into generational trauma. I feel like it all stems from upbringing, things that you're taught at a young age, things that we consume on a daily basis. I know we're all on TikTok. I'm not going to say I'm not. My screen time is like 8 hours. We're all on TikTok. We're all on Instagram. It's impossible to avoid these things. So what you feed yourself, what you watch is very important. So just going to segue on to giving men the say of expressing what they think is going on. So I popped on my Instagram story 2 questions directed at specifically men. The first question was, what do you think is the biggest challenge for men facing today? And the second question was, is there anything about modern life that you think is particularly difficult for young men? I'm going to dive into all of these answers and kind of see what it is that men are feeling. So somebody said the pressure to provide. Our dads had to hustle, but inflation is screwing us more. I agree. I think inflation is screwing everyone. But I also agree that men have more pressure to provide in the sense that women now want to. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm not going to say I don't say this, but I also sometimes think, oh my God, I want to go back to the traditional days where the man is providing and I will cook and clean. I don't want to go to work, but that's just me being lazy and I'm tired of working all the damn time. I know that there's a pressure for men to provide. Let's talk about it in a more materialistic way. Nowadays, being in a relationship is very expensive. I can't relate, but being in a relationship is very expensive. As a man in a relationship is more expensive than being a woman in a relationship. Obviously, it depends on the woman, depends on the person. Women can spoil the man, always, of course. But there is a much more higher standard for men to do more things during the relationship, such as buying things, taking her to places, paying for things. It is very expensive to be in a relationship. This is why I always say I would never be in a relationship if I was broke. I'm not a man, but I also like to pay for things. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure for a man when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriage. You have to, not have to, but essentially the standard is to provide. Our dad's times were very different, very, very different. Times have changed. Inflation is way worse now than it was in our dad's times. So it's kind of difficult to compare. It's like, yes, our parents had a home and like 5 kids at the time, but it's so much harder now. So I kind of emphasize and I just want to tell people to stop putting pressure on themselves. All of us are in the same boat. It's hard to hustle for everybody. The job market's crap. Everything's expensive. Buying a house is near impossible. It's just tough. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. It is tough out here. So I just want to say, please, please, please stop being so hard on yourself. Somebody else said, I think men's mental health isn't taken serious enough. I have such mixed emotions about this statement because the first thing I want to say, not just men, mental health in general in the UK is not taken serious enough. You can wait for so long to be seen by a specialist. Just to give you an example, I had a patient, she was a very old lady and she lost her husband and she was waiting for bereavement counseling for a year. So imagine a whole year. Yes, you've sought the support. You've asked for the professional help. You're grieving. You're sad. You've lost the love of your life. Oh, I'm going to start crying. But waiting for that for a year by yourself, I just can't imagine what she went through. It was so emotional. But, I think mental health in general is such a, dare I say, flimsy topic in the UK because there's not enough support, there's not enough funding. It is very difficult. So even seeking for help, you're going to wait for so long. And even though you have the therapy, 6 sessions, 10 max, you're done. I'm speaking from experience, okay? Therapy in the UK, input in the UK is very, very, very minimal. Men's mental health isn't taken serious enough. I don't understand this. I truly, truly don't understand this. I feel like, especially in today's time, there is more uproar about mental health, especially men's mental health. I think it's June is the men's mental health month, or is it May? And then you have November, which is Movember for men's mental health again. Like, I feel like there's so many things. There's men who are doing run clubs for just men of all ages for their mental health. There's so many adverts about men's mental health. So I don't understand what it is when someone says it isn't taken serious enough. Let's just segue on to the next one. Men aren't allowed to show emotions or be sensitive. I feel like this kind of goes back up to what I said earlier. There's a bit of an expectation for men not to show emotions. and there's a bit of an expectation for men to be manly. But I think this is more so created by men, whether it could be your upbringing, your dad is telling you not to cry, whether it's what you consume online. Yes, there will be a small percentage or maybe a percentage of a woman telling you not to cry or having the ick because you laugh too hard or cry too hard, but that woman isn't for you, as well as these forms of consuming online videos are not for you either. I completely understand what you mean when you say men are not allowed to show emotions or be sensitive, but who is holding you back from showing the emotion? If you genuinely show an emotion and someone is laughing at you, or you should be able to cut that person off. You should be able to make the decision that this person is not right to be in your life because they're making fun of you or they don't kind of sympathize with your emotion. But to say that you're not allowed, that I don't understand, because what is holding you back from showing emotion? And I think that leads back to trauma, and that leads back to upbringing and what we're feeding our own brains. I think if we fix those things, again, I know it's difficult because trauma, you need therapy. And in the UK, it's like a year or so to get therapy. But if you go privately, it's expensive. It's a whole ordeal. I completely understand it. But I don't understand the aren't allowed part, because no one is stopping you from crying. No one is stopping you from telling the waitress that you don't like the burger. No one is stopping you from being angry or being emotional or being anxious. Nobody is stopping you from doing these things but yourself. Truly and truly, it's what you fed your own mind, and it's the trauma that you've experienced, the pressure of society. I feel like we have to do something at some point. Like, I know in my first podcast, I mentioned that I think I mentioned I was an avoidant, whatever. And I have so much anxiety. I had so much work related stress. I'm not just going to sit there and think I'm going to be an anxious girl. I went and got therapy twice. Not twice as in 2 sessions, twice as in 2 separate therapies. I spoke to all of my friends. I even spoke to random people. You need to do things to get yourself out of this mindset that you're not allowed to do anything. If you're a grown person, like a grown adult, I don't know, I'm going to assume someone is in their 25, 26, 27, 28, 30. Let's say your dad can't stop you from showing emotion as an adult. What is he going to do if you start crying? What is he going to do if you feel upset or you feel happy? Nothing. What can they do? Unless you're in like a very, 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 very toxic and abusive situation, what is he going to do? And same thing goes to a woman. A woman tells you not to cry because she's got the ick. Okay, bye, bitch. I'm going to cry. I'm going to show emotion. You're done. You can leave. This isn't for me. This is the kind of mentality you need to have. Like, you need to protect your emotions, because your emotions is what makes you human. If you feel like you can't show emotion because my dad told me not to cry and this girl is having the ick and she's my girlfriend, what do you have in life if not your emotions? Your emotions are who you are. Anyways, somebody said dating in this modern day and the pressure of social media and being successful by the age of 25. I think this is such a general thing because we all have this pressure. Modern day dating is disgusting. I'm tired of it. Pressure of social media, I'm not going to lie, that is your own FYP. That is what you built yourself, because my TikTok algorithm now is like farm life, sheeps and goats. I don't consume anything that I feel like is toxic to my mind. We need to kind of, if not so, change things in our own lives to better our own mindset. The successful by the age of 25, that I sympathize with. It is so difficult for a man, especially. I know it's difficult for everyone, don't attack me. But I feel like for men, when men are not successful by 25 or 26 or whatever the age, not just by other men, but in general by everyone, people kind of look down on that mindset. And it's not fair, because there's so many things going on in the world right now. Inflation, it's hard to buy a house. The job market's so crap. It's hard to find a proper freaking job. It's so hard that there's all these pressures. And I do like, obviously, I'm not saying this is right. This is definitely wrong. But sometimes over here in like conversations from girls where they're like, oh my God, he hasn't got a real job, or he hasn't got this. And, it's naturally, I've also have felt this, like thought this, sorry, when a guy hasn't had a job, for example, and my interest in him diminished a little bit just because my mindset, the way I was also raised, was that your husband or the guy that you'll end up with will have a good job and he will take care of you. Again, it's all about mindset. Obviously, now with my current mindset and having a mature outlook on things, everything's not all rainbows and sunshines. We're not all going to be perfect. We're not all going to be rich. We're not all going to have great jobs. I'm starting from scratch with my new job. I'm not rich. I'm not perfect. We're figuring it out at the end of the day. I think you need to surround yourself with people who have the same mindset as you. The next one says, I think one of the biggest challenge for men today is feeling like we're expected to have everything figured out while being told to not show when you're struggling. There's pressure to be financially successful, physically fit, emotionally available, confident, and independent all at once. When you don't meet those expectations, you get swept away from any possibility. This is exactly what I just said. There's so much more pressure for men to be successful than there are women. And I'm saying this as a woman because it's true. I don't want any women to attack me, but it's true. No women can tell me they've looked at a guy who doesn't have a job, doesn't have it figured out, and oh my God, he's a bum. Everyone's done it, guys. Come on, don't freaking lie. So you can't not sympathize with this. You can't. It's true. There is so much pressure for men to have it figured out, to have a job. Oh my God, he doesn't go to the gym. Oh my God, he hasn't got 5 million in his account. There's so much pressure. But men, you need to understand we were raised to think like this. Hello. I just want to put that out there, okay? Women are not the enemy here. Like you guys were raised to not show emotion, to be a man, we were also raised to, go to the dreamiest guy, go to the guy who will take care of you and provide. This is also how we were raised. It's up to you guys to figure out that you need to show your emotion, and it's up to us to figure out not everything's going to be sunshines and rainbows. Not everybody's going to be a Nepo baby or a freaking CEO. It's fine. We're living a normal life. And I feel like it all goes back to social media. Guys, please delete your algorithms. Fix it. What you see online is not real life. You see these guys who are driving these cars and they're wearing these watches and they're wearing suits every damn day. It's not real. Okay, that is a percentage. This is real life. That is not real. That's what you see on social media. Sometimes I go on social media and I see a girl who's doing shopping every day, returns home to her mansion. Her room is so pretty and perfect. I mean, I'm so grateful for the fact that I've got a home and that if I want to buy myself something, I can go out, go to the mall and buy it. But we all consume things that we then start thinking, oh my God, this girl goes shopping every damn day. She gets her hair done and her nails done every day. And she's so perfect and she's at the beach every day. I have thought that as well. But it's not real, guys. Please fix your social medias. Fix what you're consuming online. Fix it all. I promise you, once you fix what you're consuming, what you're feeding your brain from these social medias, you will feel 10 times better. Somebody said, I think men and younger men are struggling with purpose. Social media constantly tell us we're not earning enough, not fit enough, etc. A lot of us aren't comfortable opening up as it's seen weakness, and many times this is used against me when I have opened up. There's very little guidance on what healthy masculinity actually looks like. What you think women misunderstand most about? Oh, that's the question for me. Okay. Let me just cover what you said before I get to the question. I think this goes back to everything I've just said earlier. I do agree. I think there's a lot of pressure for men to do so much, earn enough and be fit and consume the right things and be in the right places. I know it's difficult. I do completely agree. You need to change the way you also think. I don't understand when men say that I can't show emotion because this girl doesn't want me to show emotion. Please change who you're around. If somebody is knocking your confidence in you feeling sad, this is not the right person to be around. I feel like we're all grown enough to make those choices. If I was crying to my friend and she starts laughing at me, and there have been cases where that also has happened, is she my friend anymore? No, she's blocked. Hello. You need to stop thinking we can't, and start thinking who's holding me back from doing XYZ. I know it's so deep rooted that it's better said than done to do these things, but you need to slowly start training yourself to think this way. At the end of the day, the people who slander you from opening up, the people who treat you differently for not earning enough, they're not the right people to be around, is what I think. The question was, what do you think women misunderstand most about men? I don't really have an answer to this, only purely because I think women have every right to be cautious around men. Now, I'm not saying all men, obviously, but a woman's first instinct around a man is to be cautious until proven otherwise. I think all women should have that mindset. I'm not saying be cautious of every single man forever and evermore. I'm saying if I'm going to the shop and a man approaches me and talks to me, initially I will be cautious until I find out he's harmless. Then I will be like, okay, to have a conversation. Men need to understand that this is coming from a place of fear, essentially. Every woman has, I don't know, like an experience with a guy which has led them to being that way. Or we've seen the news about certain things happening caused by a man. And I'm not even going to say that this is just a woman's mindset. This is also coming from a man's mindset. Let me give you guys an example. If you have a sister, okay, these are for guys who have sisters. If you have a sister, would you want her to date your friend? If you have a sister, would you want her to go to the club with your friends? And I've asked people this, and 9 times out of 10, they say no. Why? What's the answer, you may ask? Because I know what boys are like is what the guys generally say. And I remember my mom was like, oh my God, why don't you set your friends up with your sister? Get her to date one of them. Thanks, mom. My brothers will be like, no, mom, I know what my friends are like. Men know what men are like. And I understand this whole defense mechanism of not all men. I completely agree. Not all men, not all women, not all humans. Definitely not all. But until proven otherwise, everybody is always cautious. I mean, even if a woman approaches me, until proven otherwise, I'm going to be cautious. Is she going to steal my phone? Is she going to rob me? Is she a human trafficker? Is she going to lure me into this alleyway? You just got to be cautious of everything and everyone. It's not just cautious of men, but as a weakling myself, a man is definitely stronger than me. I feel like I can take down a girl, but can I take down a man? Probably yes, because I'm so strong. But let's be realistic. Probably, most likely not. So I think when men think women misunderstand men and kind of go too deep into the whole, like, oh my God, men are trash. Women mean some men. And I think men misunderstand that from women. When women say men are trash, we're not generalizing all men. We're just saying, just be cautious. And also, while on the topic of men are trash, the men are trash movement is forced and it is exaggerated. And at this point, I think we should stop it. It's not a gender war, guys. We're going through so much in this world. There's so much happening. People are dying. The government is corrupted. Who gives a damn about these gender wars? I was talking to my colleagues about this and they were, I don't even know how we got this conversation, but we were all kind of agreeing that men are trash kind of started as a funny thing that, you know, you'd say as a meme. And now people are running with it like it's a whole personality trait. It's getting a bit out of hand. It needs to be dropped. Anyways, so I know now to argue the other side, I know there's women out there who are going to say we all struggle with societal pressures of being physically fit and having a great job and having money. And why is it a male loneliness epidemic? We're all struggling with these things. I completely agree. We are all struggling with these things. But I need women to understand that women are more likely to be seeking support, therapy. Women are more likely to have meaningful friendships who they can connect with and express how they feel. Unfortunately, men don't have these things. Women have also stopped kind of caring, I feel like, about societal standards on how we should look and act. To be skinnier, to be curvier, to be look prettier. I think we've all stopped thinking about these things. Back in the day, women were taught to be skinny and pretty. And then eventually, as the years go on, men are telling us to be curvy and thick. And there's a lot of standards everywhere, of course. So I think women just have disconnected from listening to societal pressure and standards and just kind of just going with what's right for you, which is essentially what you should be doing. Women are told to find a man you could marry, you'll be happy with. And for that reason, so many women remain in unhealthy marriages and relationships because they were raised to kind of tend to the man and be the emotional support for the man and to stay in that relationship. However, as women have progressed with time and they've become more independent, they have their own jobs, their own monies, their own homes. They're becoming kind of increasingly comfortable with themselves, with becoming the man, some may say. I think women have now adapted to the mindset that men would have. I need to be successful. I need to travel. I need to make good money. If a woman is sad or upset, she's not going to go to a man anymore. She will go to her girlfriends. I think it definitely has changed. I see like the shift and how it could affect men in general. I do sympathize with it. Obviously, I've got brothers. Seeing my own brothers be emotional, but it's very rare, is what I'm trying to say. I acknowledge that it is a real problem. It's a really tough situation because I don't know what the solution might be. I don't think the solution is women. I don't think the blame is on women. I think women should be independent. I think women should have their own jobs. I do think women should not prioritize having a relationship. Everyone should just focus on bettering their own mental health, whether it's you're going swimming or you're going for a run, or I know it's really kind of silly for me to say because I know like some GPs tell people to go for a walk if they feel depressed, and it sounds like, oh my God, thanks, you cured me. But doing little things that you're passionate about is healing. It really is healing, guys. What you consume online, your brain is such a powerful thing. Even if you read one line of a negative statement, even if you watch 10 seconds of a negative video, your brain will absorb it. Please stop consuming videos online that are going to make you feel like crap. Please, please, please. I say this with the kindest heart ever. What you're consuming online is ruining your mood. You know, like I said, I'm watching sheeps and goats at this point. I'm tired of consuming what everyone else is doing. I'm just watching animals now. Love it. It's changed my mindset so much. I'm so much happier. All these materialistic things, all these expectations, they don't matter. You matter as a person. The world is going to end. We only do live once. Please do things that feed your energy. We've come to the end of the party yaddy. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Naz. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to follow the podcast on Spotify and leave a 5-star rating, please. And share it with someone you think might enjoy it or learn from it. That would be nice. If there's any topic you'd like for me to talk about, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, or just send me a message. You can find kind of everything on Spotify for audio episodes and on YouTube for the full video experience. Until next time, please do take care of yourself. Please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to each other. I can't stress this enough. Life is hard. It's tough out there. Please speak to each other. Speak to random people. Please be kind to your own mind. Be kind. Okay? Love you all. Goodbye. See you soon.